Hey, welcome to a special live in-person edition. We don't do this too often. We are here, and I've interviewed her boyfriend. We're going to put her business out on the streets. A few episodes ago, that was Coach Spence talking about knees over toes. Is that all right? We put your business out there? Okay. She's public about that. That's out there.
I'll talk to anybody about this.
So, joined by Rebecca Nave, a.k.a. Coach Becks on Instagram. Is Baked by Becks still a thing? I know you put on pause.
It's on hiatus, so stay tuned for 2023.
Yes, very delicious cookies. Locally here, though, in Colorado, near Denver, Boulder area, servicing. Yes, so very yummy cookies. But that account's still up if you want to go see what that's all about. And then our other account, becks.nave, and we'll put links somewhere. But we're at Flatirons CrossFit, hence the tires, the flipping of crazy things that people do. That's what we're doing here. And again, special episode of Bo Knows Health. That's me, I'm Bo. I do know health, I know rehab, I'm a doctor of physical therapy, and Becks here is one of my biggest success stories. So I wanted to share her story. She wanted to share her story, I think, because it's a cool story. And I'm gonna summarize it real quick, and then I'm gonna let her go into it. So pretty active young lady, had some injury stuff going on, was unable, and you can jump in, unable to squat and do anything because of some really bad back pain for a while. Yep. Over 2 years?
Well over 2 years.
Well over 2 years. And I just joined the gym here recently and started talking and became the in-house physical therapist here at Flatirons CrossFit, formerly CrossFit Undeniable, the artist formerly known as. And we got to talking. I was like, yeah, let's see if we can do something. Did an assessment, and she told me she was ready to go have the surgery because it was just so frustrating. And I said, hold up, why don't you try this 12-week squat program? And I think if we mix that in, we're gonna rehab and fix your tendons, and we're gonna fix your movement patterns, and we're gonna get you back by squatting, something she loves doing. Most CrossFitters love squatting, and when they go see a medical professional, they often say, hey, stop squatting, which she might be able to share some experiences. So let's, I think that summed it up without spoiling the ending. So go ahead and tell us a little bit of your history and what led to your injury. Let's go through the injury.
Yeah, so if we go way back, I have had back pain off and on since I was about 19 years old. I'm 35. I was not an active person growing up. I did horseback riding and competitive equestrian sports, but no kind of traditional team sports or what most people would consider like real athletics. So I dealt with back pain off and on since about 19. When I started doing CrossFit, I was 26, and I did find that helped those flare-ups become less frequent because I did start strength training, and I actually had some muscle. But as I got more into CrossFit and as I did it more, I think that just over time, those repetitive motions, and like I move pretty well, but I'm certainly not perfect. I'm also 6 feet tall, so I think that just puts some stress on different parts of my body. And you know, when I am trying to cycle the barbell and I just hinge at the hips, that's a lot of body to take on
Yeah.
one weight. So things were pretty manageable up until about probably end of summer 2020.
Anything to do with COVID? Because that was right after lockdown.
Yeah, I was actually able to stay active during COVID, which I was very proud of myself for. But you know, got back into the gym. Kind of went from doing a lot of body weight stuff over COVID, going back to CrossFit and kind of acting like I hadn't taken 3 or 4 months off of a barbell. So when we got back to doing CrossFit after COVID, I just kind of more or less picked up where I left off, which I felt okay-ish doing. But there was one workout in particular. If you've done CrossFit, you might know it's Kelly. It's 5 rounds for time of a 400-meter run, 30 wall balls, 30 box jumps. And at the end of that, I was like, oh, my back feels kind of tight. Didn't really think anything of it. I'd felt that before. And then the next day, I could barely walk. I could not like bend over the sink to wash my face. Putting on my shoes hurt. So in the past, I would get these flare-ups and they would kind of just go away on their own. And about a month later, I'm like, this is not going away. This is staying here and everything still hurts real bad. So
You're just gonna have to talk over the FedEx truck. This is the problem with being outside.
So
Our FedEx truck.
After that, you know, I tried going to the chiropractor, tried just modifying some workouts, and that worked for a little while. I was able to work around that injury thanks to Spence. He programmed a lot of stuff that just focused on other things that I could do. So a lot of upper body and some conditioning stuff. But I had been to the doctor, I want to say I think so around 2021. I was like, this is getting ridiculous. I need to.
A few months in, almost a year in.
Yeah, this was probably 5 or 6 months in after just being in constant pain and discomfort. Went to the doctor and she was like, okay, well, let's just get an x-ray done. Got an x-ray done and they were like, well, maybe something's there. Looks like you have a hip impingement. And I'd kind of known that before and didn't really understand how that affected my back because no one.
Were you having issues at your hip? Because it's actually pretty rare for you to show up with back pain and the doctor to say, let's do an x-ray even of your hip.
Yeah, I think I felt it in both places, and some days it would be more prominent in my hip, some days it would feel like it was more in my back, but it always felt like the lower left part of my back. And after we did the x-ray, went to see a sports medicine specialist, and she said, okay, well, let's do, based on what you've told me, let's do a diagnostic hip injection. So February 2021, we did a diagnostic hip injection where they injected lidocaine into my hip capsule. The idea being to numb the joint, seeing if I could do those activities that would typically bother me, like any kind of hinging, squatting, to see if that was the issue. And it did help a lot, but that's a very quick turnaround with that process. It's like you kind of have anywhere between 18 to 24 hours to really determine, hey, like, is this the problem or is it not? And I'm like, I think it's the problem, but I don't really know. So then went to see a surgeon because they're like, well, if that's the problem, it's your hip impingement, so we would want to do a hip arthroscopy. Went to see a surgeon. He was like, it could be this, but I don't want to say that for sure. He was being very cautious, which I do appreciate. So I think I spoke to him probably 3 or 4 times in like a 5-month period. And I had MRIs done, I had a CT scan. And then one of the last times I went in there, he was like, I'm not convinced it's your hip. So he brought in his colleague who specialized a lot. She did a lot with athletes, and she was like, I think it's your back. So then we got an MRI of my spine, and this was May of 2021, so a little over a year ago. And she was like, I think it's your back. So we did the MRI, found that I did have a tear between my L5 and S1. You can see like the bulge on the MRI. From there, she's like, let's try physical therapy, and then if we're still having issues, then we can consider surgery. So I did about 6 weeks of physical therapy with someone in-house at that clinic, and he was fine. He was he was helpful, and I did see some progress. But after 6 weeks, it was sort of like, okay, like you're good to return to sport now. Yeah.
What kind of stuff did you guys do, if you don't mind me asking? In physical therapy, again, electricity, little yellow bands for your glutes, wake up your glutes.
So he did a lot of like manual like manipulation of the tissue. So we did that. We did some of the banded distractions. We did some Jefferson curls. Okay. And we
not very traditional physical therapy. I like that, but
we did do some Palloff presses too.
Okay, so yeah, but it's a little more than I think traditional physical therapy, but still didn't bridge the gap. So for 6 weeks, how much progress would you say you made?
So I was going up there twice a week for most of that, and then I was meant to carry on the rest of that on my own time. So I did see progress. I wouldn't say that I was pain-free when I left. It was like things were improved by about 75%.
Okay, it's pretty good.
Which was pretty good, but I just felt like being like, okay, you're good to go now.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't.
And this is the medical model that I kind of complain about to some extent, and that's one reason I want to highlight this example. And also, let's take a step back. You had a CT scan, you had MRIs, you had x-rays. It sounded like you went to a number of doctor's visits, and you had physical therapy. So unfortunately, this is not uncommon. I love using double negatives. So altogether, though, whether it's insurance covered most of it, I assume, but still time, co-pays, all this expense to the medical system. Now, again, an MRI might cost $3,000 to the insurance company. Did it give us $3,000 worth of value? Maybe, maybe not. So something I'll kind of step off of that soapbox for a second. But coming back to here, yeah. So the other big thing that I always talk about, and the reason my business name is Fit Care, is if you care about your fitness, you can avoid healthcare. But you just went from caring, and the system focuses on caring about your pain, and your pain was only 75% better, and that's when insurance companies say, yeah, that's all we're going to cover. We already did 12 visits, six weeks, 2 times a week, so 75% is good. And if you keep doing it, maybe you will finish that last 25%. But again, the things you want to do are in a gym. You want to be squatting and deadlifting and doing some of this stuff because that's going to get you longer term results. But again, the system does not do that. So one thing I always say for anyone asking me about physical therapy is, especially if you're a CrossFitter or a triathlete or any higher level athlete, anything above, say, Zumba, not to pick on Zumba, but if they don't have a squat rack in that physical therapy clinic, and it sounds like, again, Jefferson curls, things like that, but if they're not getting you to do that activity that you want to get back to, and we think of it this way too, if you're somebody who loads things onto a conveyor belt, or you're doing manual labor, you're a firefighter, you have to be able to throw 200 pounds over your shoulder and run with that over on stairs and things like that. You have to be able to do these things to do your job. Your job, which we didn't really talk about, you're sitting a lot for work, so that also could be a negative factor. But to finish my little soapbox speech for everyone listening, and we could take a little bit more out of this example, is the fact that, again, that healthcare space is only looking to get your symptoms better and doesn't really care about the long term to some extent. Not saying that the physical therapist didn't care. I'm sure he's a super nice guy. But at the end of the day, it's just every system gets the results that it's built to get, and that's what it's built to get. Unfortunately, it's not built to get somebody who's active back to deadlifting 200 pounds for 40 reps, unfortunately. So that's my little soapbox. So, well,
I think to that point, there was never any assessment of why did this happen. So going back to
the root cause.
Yeah. So understanding movement patterns and hey, when you are let's assess my movement, which it's pretty good. It's not perfect.
Right.
But there was never any let's look at how you're moving and why this has happened and what we can do to prevent it from coming back. Because I think that's something that I've learned with you, because we started working together, I want to say in October of 2021, and it's now
Sounds
May,
right.
so it's about six or 7 months. And I've learned this is not going to be something that I just do for 3 months and then I'm good to go. This is likely going to be something that I'm going to have to manage for much of my life, which I think at first can seem daunting, but when you realize how much value it adds to your longevity and just being a healthy person, there's a lot to gain from that, rather than just being I just want to get done with my physical therapy so I can get back to doing. It's you can incorporate them so your PT stuff can be in your warm up or in your cool down, and it's not, it's never going to be something that you don't ever have to do unless we move to being bionic humans and I can get a new spine and a new set of hips. But, I think that was something really key that you were able to offer, was let's assess your movement, figure out the root cause, and then work from there, rather than just trying to address pain and then moving on and just kind of getting you back into the world, because there's a lot of steps in there that should happen medically, and I think that they're just not set up to do that.
Right.
It's a big missing piece.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons I love CrossFit. One of the key phrases in CrossFit, and Becks is a CrossFit coach, I'm a CrossFit coach. One of the key phrases is, if you chase aesthetics, you rarely catch it, but if you chase fitness, the aesthetics will come. And I feel the same way about this kind of rehab model that's you did such a great, that's such an awesome perspective from that patient, injured person. We have to be very careful about our language, but at the end of the day, it's that, if you chase these movement patterns, and you will ultimately be out of pain. If you just chase pain relief, it's easy to relieve pain, to block pain, but if you never address the root cause, you're probably not gonna quite get there. And again, you can kind of keep pushing that on, kicking the can down the road, so to speak. And this is what I see a lot of times, again, not to pick on any one thing or people, but chiropractors. You mentioned you went to see a chiropractor a few times, and there you walk out of there usually feeling pretty good. Usually that, all the cracks and things will realign you to some extent. There's a neurological stimulus happening from an evidence-based perspective. We understand that. That's about all it is. It's a short-term pain relief, some kind of neurological thing happening, a little distraction, whatever's going on. And then by the time you get to your car, you get home, or you get back to work the next day, you've lost a lot of the benefits of that, and so you might not be in immediate pain back to where you know when you walked into the chiropractor. But bottom line is it's not a long-term fix, and that's the only thing I'm interested in. I only care about working with folks who are interested in this long-term fix and want to avoid surgery. So yeah, when we were starting in October, she I remember it stood out very strongly to me. You're like, I think I might just have the surgery. And I was like, well, hold on, like, let's talk. Like, you don't need to go there. And again, I'm not twisting people's arms into not having surgery if that's something that they want to do. But again, you can always do the surgery later on. After, let's do this thing for 12 weeks. And again, it's going to cost you a lot less money to try this thing for 12 weeks than continuing medication, doing more physical therapy, doing more chiropractic, acupuncture, all these different things that you can do to try to address it. So, but yeah, because, and you know, I always talk about, and I'll finish here in a second, sorry, is I always talk about, I tend to have my ideal client is someone like Becks who has unfortunately gone through a bunch of other things that didn't quite work. And again, she's more educated about the body than most as a CrossFit coach, as somebody who's clearly like interested in the human body and movement, and even being aware of what her deficiencies are in movement. So interesting stuff there, but that's who I end up connecting the most with and being able to help the most, because they're ready to buy in to, let's try this crazy program of squatting 3 times a week for 12 weeks with very specific times, tempos, communication, and it's a different model. So yeah, that's my spiel.
Yeah, and I can kind of touch on the surgery part too. Like I've never had a major surgery before, and I think that my willingness to be open to that was that the last time I talked to the surgeon and the physician that I was working with, you know, the physician said to me, she's like, I'm not saying you can't do this stuff, but you're just gonna always have to kind of pull back a little bit. And she kind of gave me the sense that I'm never really going to be able to go as hard as I want to, or like it's always going to have to be in the back of my mind. I'm like, I just don't really accept that. Like, I don't feel like, I don't know. And I get where she's coming from. Like, I understand that you need to tell people, like, you can't just continue on as if everything is fine, because you do have some stuff going on. But, you know, like, I'm pretty young, and I'm pretty young, especially in terms of my training age. Like, I didn't really start fitness until I was 26. So it's just under 10 years. And, you know, like, I get that they want people to be conservative, but for me, I'm like, I just don't want to always have that in the back of my mind. Am I doing too much? Is this too much volume? Is this too heavy? Because I think anyone who does CrossFit or any kind of relatively competitive sport, like, that can really get in your head, and it can mess you up a little bit, and you're always second guessing yourself. And I think that's when you can get hurt too, is when you're like, when you get hesitant. So, you know, I was open to having surgery because I just didn't want to have that hesitation. But, you know, I think coming back and then starting that squat program, which I was a little unsure of at first. I was like, I don't know how this is going to feel. But it did give me a lot of confidence in returning to training and being able to do some more volume and just going through those patterns. And also, it was really cool to feel myself getting stronger. And, you know, adding a little bit of weight every week. It wasn't a ton. Sometimes it was 5 pounds a week. Sometimes it was 10. But just building that confidence back up. I'm like, okay, maybe I can get back to this. Maybe I don't have to always sit there and be in my head worrying, like, is this too much? Should I not squat? Is, like, whatever thoughts come into your head. But yeah, the squat program was great because it was something I liked to do, and it was so scalable. Like, I know we started having me go to a target. And I think we started at, like, you know, 45 or 50 pounds. It was super light. It was doable. And then as I got better, or as I got stronger, it was easy to progress that, because we could lower the target that I was going to. I think I was like going to a 16-inch box, so it was like barely parallel. Eventually we could drop that down to a 12-inch box, and then eventually it was, I think, no box. And then, you know, you have the tempo in there, and you can add weight, and tempo work is money. Tempo work, if you are ever short on time or equipment, like, tempo work is where all the gold is. Yeah,
and again, it's less sexy because you have to decrease your weight and things like that. I'd rather just lift heavy, even if I don't lift that good. But yeah, tempo work has a lot of benefits, and it's very rehabilitative to whether you have an actual injury that we would go to see a doctor for, or a physical therapist for, or you just want to improve your movement patterns, your joints, things like that. So yeah, I think everyone should be doing some aspect of tempo work, especially if you haven't done it before and you're trying to do things, whether it's running, triathlon, again, CrossFit. The more of that you want to do, again, it's coming back to moving better. And every time I have someone do these, it's barefoot, so you really feel the ground. And it's just, again, improving the basics, the foundations. And it's less sexy, but at the same time, she's doing something that she loves to do, and she can see the results 3 times a week. Next week, cool, we're changing the rep schemes, and we're just able to go up in weight. So we started at like 45 pounds. Do you remember what we finished at on like week 12? It was probably...
I want to say it was around like 105.
105 pounds.
You know, we were doing...
And it was 4 sets of 6 by then,
Yeah.
so that's 24 reps in terms of volume. So 105 pounds,
tempo.
that's still 4 seconds down, 3 seconds up. And again, it's this very constant communication of, what are you feeling? Should we push more? Should we pull back a little? You're doing a little too much. Were you sore after? That constant communication, all online. And so, yeah, at the end of that, and actually, well, and Becks, as diligent of a student as she was, I'm going to call her out because, you know, she was posting some stuff on social media like, hey, I just did 150 wall balls. And I was like, oh, well, we're not really supposed to be doing that.
But I felt so good. I was like, hey, why not? But to your point, like, I should not have done that. But again, that's why it is valuable to have a professional who can kind of bring you back to where you need to be and be like, I understand why you felt
and
like
it's great
was
that
a good
you were
idea at
able
the
to do
time.
that.
Yeah. Again, that was me just getting a little overzealous and confident.
Right, and so it was a 14-pound ball, right? And for anyone not familiar with a wall ball, you're taking it, it's in front of your face, you do a squat, and you stand up and throw it up to a target, 9 feet for women, 10 feet for guys. For Becks, that's pretty much like touching it to the wall. You don't have to throw it very far. But again, for her, 14 pounds times 150 reps, which is a lot of reps, compared to especially what she had been doing. But she had that kind of, again, training age, that history of doing it. But now we had at that point, maybe it was 6 weeks in, we can argue the physiology and are the tendons quite rebuilt and are the stimuli like the right thing? And so, but we can always adapt it. Again, I don't want people necessarily doing that, but at the end of the day, it actually fit into a little bit of the scheme when you do the math on 14 pounds, 150 reps versus, at that point it might have been 4 sets of 10, so 40 reps at whatever, 80 pounds. You do the math on the equations and things like that. It wasn't the time under tension and tempo that we want for the tendons, but for her it was a mental gain of being like, hey, I did this, I haven't been able to do this in 2 years, and it was pain-free for the first time. Your hips getting stronger, your back's getting stronger, your mind's getting stronger. So awesome. What do you have another thought there in terms of at the end of the program, you were able to do the CrossFit Open, the timing kind of coincided, which included some deadlifts and burpees over the bar.
Yeah, I think that was a big one for me. So I've been doing CrossFit since 2013. I think 2020 was the first year I'd missed the Open in like 8 years, 7 years, whatever it had been, which was a bummer. Like I love the Open. I'm not ever gonna do super well, but I just really love that.
It's a fun atmosphere,
fun.
community, testing yourself.
Yeah, so this year, you know, when the Open came around, the first workout had some box jumps, which I was a little hesitant about, and I think I went into that workout and like, you just don't get to go very fast. You know, you just gotta stay slow and controlled, and that's what I did, and it was great. Wall walks as a tall person are horrendous, let me tell you. But you know, then the second one came around, and it was the 10 through 1, or was it
1 to 10,
1 to 10,
10
10
to 1,
1 deadlifts and burpee over the bar.
Yeah.
I did the scaled version. I was smart. It was 95 pounds. I'm like, I'm not even going to touch a 155 barbell. It's not worth it. And you know, like I did not try to go super fast. Knew I wasn't going to finish it, but I just wanted to participate. So I wore my weightlifting belt for all of the deadlifts, which, you know, like not something I would normally recommend doing for that light of a weight traditionally, but given the circumstances that I was in and where I was at in my, you know, path to getting better, wanted to be smart. So was able to do that. And then the last workout too was thrusters, double unders, pull-ups, chest to bars, big whole mess of that. I have always hated thrusters. They're just
another thing not great for a tall person.
Favorite movement, but I will tell you, I have never been happier to be able to do thrusters. You know, they did go up a little bit in weight, and again, normally that would have not been great for me, but I was just so happy to be able to do them this year, and being able to complete the Open was a really big deal for me. And again, being able to stay healthy through the Open. It wasn't like I did a workout and then I was, you know, couch ridden for the next week. It was like, no, like I feel pretty good, and I take it easy the day after and make sure I'm keeping up with my mobility.
Recover hard.
Recovery. And yeah, it was great, and it was a really, really big win for me to be able to do that this year.
Awesome. Thrilled to be a part of that. And you also had a little bit of a shoulder thing pop up somewhere in the middle of that, and we made sure we met up and we addressed it, and again said, hey, here's some ways that we're gonna improve that, move that in the right direction as well. Do you want to talk about that at all, or just being on a desk all day?
Yeah, so I do work in tech full-time. I'm a customer success manager, so I work from home, which is wonderful, but I do spend a lot of time sitting. And as much as I would like to think I have great posture, I know I kind of do this a lot. So that is not helping a whole lot, but I think that in addition to the fact that when I was hurt, I was doing a lot of pushing, pulling, upper body stuff to kind of, you know, still be able to train, which was great because I got really good at pull-ups. But I think just doing a lot of pulling aggravated my bicep, which in turn was starting to affect my shoulder. And then add in that internal rotation from sitting. It was just sort of the perfect storm. But, you know, again, we were able to talk about why that was happening, not just, oh, that hurts, well, let's give you a cortisone shot, or let's crack you. It was like, okay, well, this is why that's happening. And then this is how we can avoid that from going forward. It's how we can avoid it, which turned out to be more tempo work. Which again, like, but it was great, and I got a really sick bicep out of it every time. So yeah, and that, you know, that feels great now. That's not an issue anymore. So again, it's the opportunity to not only fix the problem, but learn about the problem, learn where it comes from, why it's happening, and then how to mitigate that going forward. So
crazy.
It's weird, and then it works, and then you can just stay healthy and continue to do the things you love. So
blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Blowing my mind.
We had a deadlift program going for a while too.
We started the deadlift program.
Yeah,
we're coming back to that. So yeah, we're fixing the fitness. We're chasing fitness. We're redefining fitness. It's not just go to a regular random class or constantly varied class. But yeah, there's more to that we can certainly talk about. So yeah, I think that was your story. I appreciate it. Appreciate you sharing. I hope folks get something out of this in terms of, if you're chasing these symptoms, a lot of times you're going to keep that chase going, or you're going to go to a surgery which is going to address the thing that we think. And even you get different specialists who are like, hey, like maybe it's your back, maybe it's your hip, I don't know. And again, nobody's looking at your movement. And again, I've worked with some really great orthopedic surgeons who will literally look at your squat, look at some of these things, understand some of these concepts better. But it's hard to do it under load. It's hard to do it under fatigue. And it's hard to also put the plan in place. And I think that's the big disconnect. Again, surgeons notoriously tell older folks who have knee issues, don't squat below parallel. It's like, well, what if I have a toilet or a car that's low? Like, how do I do that? Or don't lift anything over 5 pounds. What if I have to pick up a baby? Or, you know, groceries? Like, what, you know, you're telling me to never do that? And we have these one bodies. I don't think that made any sense. We have one body we're given, so YOLO, but the big takeaway for me and hearing stories like this and folks out there that I've worked with in the past is become anti-fragile, robust humans, where again, if you're hesitating to be able to do these things, again, her job doesn't require her to pick up 100 pounds 20 times or whatever, but if she can do that, she is a more robust person, and she can probably do more things and be more useful as a human being in society and feel more empowered. And if you all of a sudden want to, we're here in Colorado, if you wanted to go hike a 14er, you might have the fitness for that, right? Like, and the older we get, again, especially females, we lose muscle mass, hormonal changes. There's ways that we can fight that with a lot of the stuff we're talking about. So I'm going down all sorts of rabbit holes, but I appreciate you sharing the story. And again, I just want to reiterate that message that if you're not chasing the cause of your pain and you're not getting a full head to toe assessment a movement assessment. And even if you don't have injuries yet, you have little aches and pains. That's the other one I love. I don't know if I've shared that with you, is listen to the whispers before they become yells. So she waited for them to become yells. And that's not your fault. We all kind of do that. It's our lizard brains. It's fine. But we also are like, well, hopefully this chiropractor is going to fix me. And I feel better, and then it hurts again. And you keep going through that cycle. So that's where I broke away from the traditional physical therapy and medical model. And luckily, at least we solved one human, hopefully in the long term here, and improved something. So yeah, we just want to share this message. Anything else for the people?
I think just, you know, you can do all this online. I'm fortunate enough to have access to you in person, but you have helped me online and had me just film some movement patterns.
Yeah,
and that was really easy to do, and it was super fun.
Awesome point. And again, that was in October, and even though we're at the same gym, and I'll maybe see her if I come and do a class, as soon as I saw her, assessed her, and we did again head to toe movements, SFMA, FMS. We did a dynamometer to look at all the muscles and hip internal rotations and things like that. As she uncrosses her legs, feeling a little paranoid. But yeah, after we did all that, and again, anytime I see someone in person, I want to get them online because I don't expect you to pay me for my time and to see me multiple times a week. I'd rather get you online as soon as possible. And no offense to her or anyone else, but I want to see you as little as possible, and I want you to be empowered. And again, it should just be, what are you doing? Are you carrying? Are you lifting? Are you squatting? Are you what's the thing? And then if something comes up, pain-wise, we can always troubleshoot that or see each other in person. But again, all that stuff is temporary to me in person, other than the assessments. But we can do a lot of that virtually. So that's an awesome point, and I'm glad you found that to be so useful and relatively easy.
Yeah, I think, and just last thing I'll say, you know, it's so good to have this knowledge going forward. So if I do run into a day where I'm having a lot more pain or stiffness, like I have the tools to work through that, and I know what I should avoid doing or what I should do more of, and I know that just sitting on the couch feeling sad and mopey is the worst thing I could do. I need to go up and move. So you know, getting the knowledge to continue the progress on your own and just being able to be, you know, independent with that is you know, worth the investment.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of the other things there is respect the healing times, which is kind of what that 12-week program does. But while you're respecting the healing time, you're also maximizing. That's some strong wind. I guess it wanted us to wrap up there. So for anyone watching, I think we flipped the vid. No, I think that's right.
I think we're good.
I think that's right. We'll see how that wraps up, but I guess that's a good place to end it. Forget what I was about to say. Thanks guys for checking it out. If you got some value out of this, feel free to reach out to me. We can do a virtual assessment if you're in the Colorado area, Denver, Boulder. Let's meet in person. Remember, if it's aches and pains, we want to start to get on top of that, address the root cause before it turns into something you're ready to have a surgery for. But no matter where you are along that spectrum, we can always do something to move you in the right direction. There's a train coming, so it's about to get loud. So I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, Becks. Anywhere else people can find you?
No.
That got really loud. We're going to wrap it up there. Thanks, guys.